Thinking about buying real estate with a friend? Hey, it's Christian, local Vancouver real estate agent in Vancouver, and I want to talk to you about whether this is a good idea or not. Because it's become unaffordable to buy your own home in the last several years, it's a question I'm getting asked more and more. Is it a good idea for me to buy real estate with friends? Well, let's explore that. The first time I ever posed this question to my colleagues in the industry, I was sitting at a book club meeting and there was about 6 or 7 of us, and I asked my colleagues and they all looked at me and just started shaking their head like this. And so I'm going to share with you several stories I've heard from others who've tried this. So here's the first example of this, and this is a mortgage broker friend of mine. And many years ago, they were buying a home, an investment property with a friend of theirs. And so they sat and talked about it some, decided to go in on the deal together, went out, started looking at properties, put an offer in on a place, and did the inspection, removed subjects, put in the bank draft. All of a sudden, it turns out that this person, they didn't know his complete financial picture or background. So it turned out that he owned 15 properties. And so he wasn't eligible to get more money from the bank. The bank generally cuts you off at about 6 properties, 5 or 6 properties. Then as an individual, you have to get a commercial mortgage. Even then, at some point, depending on your debt, they'll cut you off. So now they were in a bind. They have to come up with they're going to have to find a way to purchase the entire property on their own. Otherwise, they lose their deposit. Imagine losing $50,000, $100,000 deposit that you've put down on a place, right? So you really need to sit down and have a discussion with the friend that you're buying with and know their financial picture. You need to know their credit. You need to know their assets and liabilities. This all has to be done in a fully transparent manner. Very important that you do this. So that's one example. Second example is, again, a couple of friends buying a rental property, and another broker told me this is something that she was dealing with recently. They were buying a rental property. It's coming up to they wanted to refinance it, and in that process, one of the friends wants to back out. He just wants his share back for personal reasons. Turns out that the other friend has lost his job, and he can't qualify with the bank anymore. So he can't buy this person out, but he also can't qualify with the bank. So he's in a bind. Looks like this person will have to sell the property. So you really have to know what your friend's timeline is on this. Is this a 2-3 year holding period? Is this a 10-year investment that you're going in on with your friend together? So these kinds of things can come up, right? And again, you want to sit down and have this discussion ahead of time. Here's a third story. 2 partners going in together. And in this case, it's brothers. And this is actually one that a couple of brothers that I knew. And what happened was one of the brothers was getting a divorce. And one family lived on one side of the half duplex, and then the other one lived on the other side of the half duplex. And I'd met them already after they'd sold their property, and helped them find the next one. But what happened here is the wife wanted her share, which ends up being a quarter of the property, meaning let's take $1 million duplex. This was one legal property. It wasn't divided into 2. Wife wants her quarter. Well, if they didn't have the money to give it to her, they had to sell. And it forced 2 families with children, mind you, into a sale. Life is unpredictable that way. You don't know how things are going to transpire 10, 15 years from now. Sometimes couples grow apart. This just happens. And, unfortunately, it forces a sale upon 2 families. So a couple more things I want to review with you here. And I want to talk about the right way and maybe a wrong way to do this. The consensus here from talking to colleagues, my managing brokers and mortgage brokers is You need to sit down and have a good, long, thorough discussion. Both parties need to be very transparent about their financial backing. How much down payment are they bringing in? What percentage are they going to own? You want to sit down and do a partnership agreement that's going to spell this out. You're going to include something called a buyout or a shotgun clause. If one partner is leaving, then how much time do you have to buy them out? And or do they have to buy you out? So you got to be very clear about these things. Another point that someone mentioned to me was shorter timelines seem to work better, especially if partners are in the fix and flip business, buying a home, improving it, putting $60,000, $70,000 into renovating that one bedroom and then reselling it. That can work very well. The one challenge with that is the province has talked about an anti-flipping tax. So if you're watching this video in the future, please look up anti-flipping tax and see if that has been applied at some point. Now, the wrong way to do this would be to live together. I think the worst thing you could probably do is, as friends, buy a property and move into it together. This seems to be like the worst case scenario. I imagine there's just too many questions that would come up. For example, who's living upstairs? Who's living in the basement? It gets cold and dark in the basement. Are you going to go in 50-50 on a property like that? Or do you have to change it and go 65-35 if you're taking the downstairs? Something else you might think about is maintenance, right? Roof is going to have to be replaced every 20 to 25 years. If the roof is coming up for replacement, it ain't cheap. It's going to cost $20,000 to $25,000 most likely. Is your partner always going to have a good chunk of savings set aside that they can contribute half of that amount? So you would have to sit down and plan this out. It seems like that is not really the best approach. I wouldn't do it myself personally. If I am going to buy a property with somebody, I would do it with family. I'd do it with my kids, and that's about it. And that seems to work best from my own personal experience. Although families will disagree, they'll fight, it seems like when you're buying with your parents, maybe you're taking care of your parents as they get older, that type of a multi-generational setup can work when you're living together. That is the only way that I would recommend this. If you got more questions or comments, you can reach out below and look forward to getting your thoughts on it as well. We'll see you next time.